Rachel Rose Berkheimer was born on January 16, 1984, in Everett, Washington. The girl grew up in an intact family. Father Bill and Mother Denise tried to provide everything best for their two daughters. They also had an older sister, Megan. Rachel possessed a special charm. She was an attractive, sweet, and approachable young woman. From childhood, Ray participated in all sorts of athletic competitions and was one of the best at all. From an early age, the girl dreamed of becoming a veterinarian, as she deeply loved animals and always tried to help stray cats and dogs. The young woman had many friends. At school, Rachel was quite popular to such an extent that Father Bill even joked that he was his daughter's personal secretary. Friends constantly called on the phone and left messages for Rachel. During the time when the girl was 16 to 17 years old, she was studying in high school and Rachel experienced more than one tragedy. Within just a year and a half, she lost 6 of her friends. One drowned, another accidentally got caught in a shootout, a third took his own life. All these events greatly affected the previously cheerful young woman, but Rachel was most devastated by the loss of her best friend, Corey Hans. The young man died in a car accident. Rachel and Corey were very close friends. They behaved like brother and sister, and this grief broke the young woman. The family noticed how Rachel changed dramatically after her best friend's funeral. Ray no longer joked, she became less sociable and ambitious. She stopped making plans for the future. Eventually, by age 18, Rachel decided to drop out of school altogether. Instead, the young woman befriended questionable people relationships that raised numerous concerns among her acquaintances and relatives. In 2001, Rachel found herself at a party where she met a guy named John Anderson. He was 2 years older than the young woman. John was also a member of a criminal gang. Sweet, well-mannered, sensible Rachel began associating with completely opposite types of people. A group of guys of various ages who had constant trouble with the law. Almost each of them had a criminal record. Robberies, assaults, prohibited substances. The group spent entire days being idle, drinking and just wandering the streets. Surprisingly, however, the young woman enjoyed her new environment. She was aware of their dark dealings but never personally participated in anything illegal. Rachel fully understood that her new crowd was very dangerous, so the young woman did not tell her parents and sister about her new friends. One day, Rachel's father Bill received a phone bill for $140. The man was surprised. He assumed it was a mistake. But later it was discovered that Rachel had been calling the local jail where her boyfriend, John Anderson, was serving his sentence. John had been in custody for several months, but this did not prevent the young man from keeping in touch with his sweetheart. They spoke on the phone, and John also wrote letters to Rachel. In the letters, the young man described his feelings in a very intense way. Here are several quotes. "You are my whole world. You make my heart beat. I don't think I could ever live without your love. You are special. I would kill 1,000,000 people just to be with you." In one of the letters, John wrote the phrase "I love you" 33 times. Rachel had to confess that she had a boyfriend and he was behind bars. Bill tried to discourage his daughter from this relationship. He attempted to explain that such romances never lead to anything good in the future. But the young and naive woman defended John. She saw much good in him and was convinced she could help her boyfriend become better. Megan, Rachel's sister, confided in their parents. Previously, She had noticed that Ray would come home with bruises on her body, and perhaps John was responsible for this. After some time, Rachel's parents decided to try to reason with their younger daughter with Megan's help. One evening, the two sisters began having a heart-to-heart talk. Ray admitted that John was extremely jealous of her. She would visit him in prison during visits. John would smell her hair, smell her hands, trying to determine if Ray was seeing another man behind his back. In conversation with her sister, Rachel opened up. She broke down crying and admitted that these relationships indeed weighed heavily on her. Ultimately, the young woman decided to break up with John Anderson, acknowledging that this guy was dragging her down. The next day, the young woman informed John about the breakup. She started going to church again, began spending more time with family. One morning, stepping out onto the porch, her father saw his younger daughter. This was the old Rachel again. She was literally glowing. The joy of love had returned to the 18-year-old girl's eyes. Rachel shared good news with her family. Recently, she had met a guy named Maurice Rivers. He was also 18 years old. The young man was raised by his grandmother. It turned out that he too was a member of the gang that John Anderson belonged to. But the young man disliked this environment. Meeting Rachel inspired Maurice to do good things. They agreed to return to school together and finish it. The young couple also discussed the future without troubled friends. Maurice asked Ray to help him pull through and become better. The young woman gladly agreed. The friendship with Maurice truly changed Rachel significantly. The young woman felt happy again. It seemed that everything had fallen into place. But that was until John Anderson was released from prison. The first meeting between John and Rachel led to the young people reconciling. They were in a relationship again, but this time John treated the young woman dismissively. They would break up every day and seemingly make up the next. But everything was cynical. At some point, Rachel again declared their breakup to John. Moreover, she started dating his friend. For John Anderson, this act amounted to betrayal. John began to hate this former girlfriend. He constantly spoke ill of her to his friends. He started accusing Rachel of reportedly telling their gang secrets to other people. And over time, most members of the group also began to regard the young woman with suspicion. On September 23, 2002, Rachel Berkheimer was invited to a party. In reality, it was just a regular gang hangout at one of the houses, where young people were simply drinking and playing video games. Rachel was very happy to be invited. She planned to prove herself that evening. Latterly, the young woman felt that her friends regarded her poorly. Ray wanted to prove to the guys that she had not done anything wrong towards them and remained loyal to their friendship. Around 3 p.m., Rachel along with her boyfriend Maurice entered the house where they had been invited earlier. The whole group was in the house. The guys were relaxing, fooling around and drinking. For about an hour, Rachel along with Maurice and other gang members were having fun until John Anderson burst into the room. The young man, clearly intoxicated, started shouting and trying to start a fight. He struck one friend first, then another, then John pulled out a weapon and everyone present realized the young man had lost control. Tension hung in the air. Rachel froze with fear. The young woman knew John very well, how dangerous he was, and so she tried to quietly creep toward the door. John immediately realized that Rachel was trying to escape. He grabbed his ex by the hair and threw her to the floor. Suddenly, Rachel rose, heard the command, beat her. The young woman felt how literally everyone in the room attacked and started kicking her. One of the men even suggested turning up the radio louder to drown out the unfortunate victim's screams. It turned out that this was a trap. From the very beginning, this party had been successfully and carefully planned by John Anderson. The young man had planned this attack while still in prison. When Ray stopped responding to his calls and letters, that's when John became very angry. He persuaded his friend Maurice Rivers to gain his girlfriend's trust. John instructed Maurice to befriend Rachel, so that through his friend he could have influence over his ex. Rachel completely trusted Maurice, considering him her friend. Therefore, the young woman was not afraid to be back in the bad company where her ex was. It turned out that all the guys had been friends for a very long time. Maurice had even been John's roommate for some time. Also, Maurice was a school friend with Nathan, one of the gang members, and was under the guidance of 32-year-old Yusuf Jihad, who turned out to be the owner of the house where the party was held. Also, Yusuf was the leader of the entire criminal group. Beside these people, 22-year-old Jeffrey Bart and 20-year-old Tony Williams were in the house. In total, besides the young woman, there were 8 guys in the house, and they all beat Rachel, who was begging for mercy. After the gang finished beating their victim, the young man tied her legs and hands and covered her mouth with tape so none of the neighbors could hear the young woman's screams. After this, the young man carried Rachel bound to the garage. The thing was, the criminals did not know what to do next. The revenge plan had been carried out, and now they needed to figure out the next move. The captured Rachel lay bound in the garage for about 5 hours. During this time, the criminals continued drinking, having fun, and thinking through options for what to do with their friend. Someone suggested asking for ransom for Rachel. Supposedly, her father had money and would certainly want to save his beloved daughter. Someone suggested different harmful actions, but each version proved unsuccessful. The gang members could not agree on a single opinion and therefore just continued relaxing, discussing their acquaintances' further fate. Around 9 in the evening, a young woman entered the garage. It was Yusuf's girlfriend, Teresa Connor. He had just returned home and discovered Rachel tied up in the garage. Teresa snuck into the house. She greeted everyone, pretending not to know about the person tied up in the garage. Teresa went to the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and went out through the back door. The young woman ran to the garage and started trying to free the bound Rachel, but it turned out that some men had followed her. Several guys also entered the garage, seeing Teresa trying to free their captive. Teresa started yelling at her acquaintances. She demanded that they immediately remove Rachel from here. Just take her away from the house, property, or else, the young woman threatened to call the police. The guys listened while part of the gang continued relaxing in the house. Other young men took a black gym bag. They put Rachel in it, zip it up, put the bag in the trunk, and drove away. The criminals started driving aimlessly around the city, trying to decide what to do now with her friend, who was tied up in the trunk. Someone suggested that perhaps Ray had already learned her lesson. She would reportedly no longer tell their gang secrets to outsiders, and she should be released. They could have rented a hotel room and waited until Ray's wounds from the beating healed and then just let her go. But that did not happen. At some point, the guys realized that John Anderson was not with them, the one who had been the instigator of this whole story from the beginning, and it was John who should decide what to do with Rachel, decide what her future should be. There was not room in the car. Around 11 p.m., the young men parked near a mountain trail. They took out the bag with Rachel Rose Berkheimer, left Maurice to guard the victim. They themselves went to the house to bring John Anderson, while Maurice and Rachel were alone together. A conversation took place between them. Maurice opened the bag zipper, sat down nearby, and started comforting his girlfriend. Rachel begged to be released. She said her parents would pay as much money as needed. Ray sensed trouble, felt that they wanted to do something bad to her. She begged Maurice not to let them drown here. The young man sat nearby and waited for the other gang members. Maurice talked about how they would eventually release Ray and that she should not worry. The conversation lasted several minutes, then Maurice zipped up the bag and moved away from it, sat nearby and started waiting for his friends. Meanwhile, the car drove up to the house where the party continued. The young man called for John Anderson. The guy, after smoking a cigarette, headed to the garage. He took several shovels and a pickaxe with him, got in the car, and the young man drove again toward the mountain trail. At the scene, John Anderson and John Whitaker began digging a hole. Maurice stayed by the car and Anderson became angry about why Maurice was not helping dig. At one point, Rachel started crying and sounds began coming from the bag. An enraged John Anderson approached his former girlfriend and struck her with the shovels with all his force to silence her. After some time, John opened the bag, freed Ray, and ordered John Whitaker to undress his ex. But Ray said no, she would remove all her clothes herself. Along with her clothes, Rachel was ordered to remove all jewelry. The young woman begged to keep the ring on her finger. This ring was given to her by her best friend, the one who died in the car accident. And if she had to die, she wanted to leave life with this precious gift. But John did not allow this. Rachel followed the order and removed her jewelry. After this, the young woman fell to the ground and began praying. John looked ironically at his ex and said that was not worth doing. She would be there soon anywhere. John Anderson ordered Rachel to go and lie face down in the grave which he had dug for her personally. Ray did so. The young woman did not stop praying. Anderson took out a gun and shoot Rachel in the head and back, emptying the entire loaded arsenal. They cynically buried the young woman. On the way home, the young man made a pact with each other. None of those present had the right to tell anyone about the events that happened minutes ago. Otherwise, whoever talked would end up in the same place as the unfortunate Rachel. The next day, John disposed of the gun by throwing it in a nearby pond. The young man put the deceased girl's clothes and jewelry in a pillowcase, planning to burn them. After 2 days, Bill and Denise became worried about their daughter. Previously, the young woman could stay away from home for several days, but she always stayed in touch with them, but not this time. The next morning, the missing girl's parents contacted the police. Immediately, officers organized searches for the missing person. Posters were hung throughout the city. Rachel's disappearance was also announced on local television. Just a day later, interesting information emerged. The mother of one of the gang members, especially 22-year-old Jeff Bart, called the police station. The woman knew well that Rachel was friends with her son and his friends. She reported that the guys often drove Matthew's car, and perhaps information about the Jeep might somehow help the investigation in searching for the missing girl. 17-year-old Matthew was immediately called to the station for questioning. They did not beat around the bush with the young man. Matthew was told that if he confessed right now about where 18-year-old Rachel was, his sentence for informing would be significantly reduced. Matthew could anonymously, quietly, without publicity, tell the police the whole truth. In exchange, the young man was promised leniency. A sincere confession and help in solving the case would help him avoid severe punishment, and Matthew confessed to everything. 17-year-old Matthew turned in all his friends. The teenager described in detail each action of every gang member toward Rachel Rose, what each person's role was in the terrible murder, since it was already dark on the day of the crime. Matthew showed the approximate burial site of the victim, and with the help of dogs, they managed to find Rachel's grave. The young woman was lying in the hole with folded hands as she had not stopped praying until the last second. When police arrived at Yusuf's house with a search warrant, officers found a pillowcase with the victim's belongings there. They had tried to burn the personal items but were not able to do it completely. Everything that Matthew told at the police station matched reality. All 8 gang members who were involved in Rachel's murder were arrested that same day. Of the 8 guys, 5 made deals. They admitted their guilt in order to have the possibility of receiving a shorter sentence. 16-year-old Nathan was charged with conspiracy and aiding in committing the crime. The young man did not participate in the murder, so he spent only 30 days behind bars. 20-year-old Tony, who beat Rachel and tapped her mouth and also turned up the radio to drown out the victim's screams, was sentenced to 9 years in prison. 22-year-old Jeffrey, whose mother called the police, who drove the car with the girl tied up in the trunk, was sentenced to 10 years in prison. 17-year-old Matthew, who was driving the car, was sentenced to 26 years in prison. 18-year-old Maurice, who directly participated in the conspiracy against Rachel, was sentenced to 26 years in prison. 32-year-old Yusuf, who owned the house where it all started, was sentenced to 37 years in prison. 22-year-old John Whitaker was found guilty on all charges. The man faced the death penalty, but since he admitted his guilt and cooperated with police, he was sentenced to life imprisonment. 20-year-old John Anderson, who planned revenge on his ex-girlfriend, behaved shockingly in court. The young man constantly smiled at the cameras, sometimes even laughing demonstratively. But the most horrible thing was that he looked toward Rachel's family and winked at them. John Anderson also faced the death penalty, but since he fully admitted his guilt, he was sentenced to life imprisonment. Thanks for watching.